Welcome to sewing class. I'm Annette Julie, and today we are going to be working on the blanket stitch. So you're going to need your swatch sample and wax and a hand sewing needle and your Gutermann thread. Go ahead and thread your needle with 2 yards of thread, and let's tie a knot at the bottom. Let's trim that nice and close. And now let's wax your thread from the knot down to the eye of the needle. Let's make sure that we don't twist the thread. We let it hang freely. And we are developing our thread and preparing it for our blanket stitch. I'm going to wax this again, and I now have 2-ply thread, and when I wax it, it now looks like it's a 1-ply. So our thread is ready to go, and on the blanket stitch, I went ahead and I drew lines and I pressed this back 1/4 plus 1/4. Now we can go ahead and put some pins to hold this in place while we're sewing it. Just a couple of pins to hold down our hem edge for our blanket stitch. Okay, good. Let's start now down here at the bottom, and we're going to take our thread and we're going to go inside the fold. We want the thread to come right out on this fold mark here. So let's go in and come out the edge. And where I am right now is I am up about 1/4 of an inch from this bottom edge, and my threads come out that edge. I'm going to go forward here to the wrong side of the fabric. This is the whole wrong side. And now that stitch is holding down the edge. This is the right side of the fabric, and when I come up, I'm going to catch the loop and start the blanket stitch on the edge. Now my second stitch is different from the first one. I'm going to go to the right side of the fabric. I'm up over about 1/4 of an inch from my last stitch. I'm right off the edge of this fold. I'm going to come up, pull my thread through, but as I finish the stitch, I'm going to catch the loop, and then that's going to create the blanket stitch on the edge. Looks really good. So we're going to go over, come up, catch the loop. Go over to the wrong side of the fabric, come on up, catch the loop. These stitches are about 1/4 of an inch away, and when I'm going to the wrong side of the fabric, I'm right off the edge of the fold. And you want to make sure that you're making that catch stitch along the edge, that little running blanket stitch, that we're catching that loop. Go up another 1/4 of an inch. We're on the wrong side. Come to the right side, catch the loop. Wrong side to the right side, catch the loop, pull the thread through. And we're spacing these stitches about 1/4 of an inch apart. If you'd like to, you can pre-mark the 1/4 inches. I'm just eyeballing it right now. And if I feel like my stitches aren't arranged correctly, I'm going to take my needle and just sort of adjust and move them so that they're all looking like they're making right angles. That looks really good. Let's go to the wrong side. Back up to the right side, catch the loop. To the wrong side, to the right side, catch the loop. And we'll continue this stitch all the way to the other side. And when we get to the other side, we will attempt to hide our knot inside of the fold. To the wrong side, to the right side, catch that loop. So this blanket stitch, even though we're doing it on a muslin swatch with the contrast thread, this would be perfect for the edge of a real blanket cut like in a fleece fabric. And there is an industrial machine that makes a blanket stitch too. So this can be done with an industrial machine or by our hand stitch. Front to the back, catch the loop. To the front, to the back, catch the loop. It's looking really nice. Be patient with your hand sewing. This stitch takes a lot longer than the whip stitch, and it's a lot more decorative. I started off with 2 yards of thread. I don't know if it'll be enough to make it to the end, but we'll find out. This is also the kind of stitch that you can really only do 1 stitch at a time. You cannot load up the stitches on your needle and pull them all through. You've got to do 1 stitch at a time. I see my thread getting a little bit twisted. So let me just hang it here. Let me let it relax. And we'll continue on. If I do have to use more thread, I will make a knot and continue on with some new threads. That's okay to have a knot in the middle of the seam. If that happens, that's okay. Something we have to work with. Going up 1/4, to the wrong side, to the right side, catch the loop. Whoop. Now we are starting to run out of thread. I don't think we're going to make it all the way up there. Okay, so we're going to have to go ahead and stop our thread here in just a second. You always want to leave yourself enough thread to tie a knot. Okay, so I'm going to trim my thread, and I'm going to stop, and we're going to tie a knot. I think I'll take out 1 stitch so I have enough thread to tie that knot. So when I loosen this, I'm going to leave this a little bit loose so I can come in and catch the next stitch. I'm coming here to the face side of the fabric. I'm going to tie a very small knot. I'm going to trim nice and close. And it looks a little bit diagonal. We're going to correct that in a second with some more thread. Now we're not going to need 2 more yards, so why don't you get 1 more yard of thread, and we're going to re-thread our needle and continue on in the next video. See you in the next video.